$1.1 million on Tiger to win the Masters. He then bet $100,000 of that on Tiger to complete the Grand Slam this year.
Yeah.
He didn't even make the cut of the first tournament or the first major after, but that was a great bet.
Yeah, Tiger said that was a dumb bet, though. Right after
did?
this mic'd up, he said that second bet was not a good bet. The second bet, that right there is if Nick Wright is real rich, that's the kind of bet I could see Nick Wright making.
Well, sure. Yeah,
you ever made a dumb bet, Nick?
Not today. It's early.
Oh, okay. No one's playing yet.
That was a bad beat, though, for Tiger in that poker hand. Did you see it? It was ace, king against pocket queens, but the flop came ace, queen, ace. That's a cooler... Ace, queen, eight. That's a cooler for you. Top for Tiger.
That's about the same as you last week, up 2-0. Oh, double overtime, game 3. I don't know. What kind of sweep is that if you win the first 2 and you lose 4 in a row?
Canadian sweep. There's the sweep, a gentleman's sweep, and now we got the Canadian sweep.
We'll take it.
And it's a sweep of all my money.
Yes. Not today, Jim. It's an early start activity. Memorial Day.
I can't make any more bets till I pay off some of this debt. I'm out of credit with the bookie.
Moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals, Bucks-Raptors Game 6.
That means
Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
Okay. Fully justifying his trade to Toronto last year, posterizing Giannis to cap off a 26-3 run by the Raptors. Kawhi finishes 27 points, 17 rebounds, 7 assists. Bucks are going home after losing 4 straight. The Raptors are advancing to their first ever NBA Finals, where they'll face the Warriors. Here's Kawhi after that historic performance.
It's great. You know, I worked so hard to get to this point with the season I had last year. You know, just always betting on myself and knowing what you know, just knowing what I feel and, you know, what's right for me. I don't really judge my, you know, game like that. I'm more of a team aspect, see what my team is doing. Just want to win. I don't care about being the best player. I want to be the best team. I always said that. And, you know, just before the season when we made the trade, Masai felt that way about me. He told me how he felt and why he made the trade. And, you know, it's turning out well now. I mean, we're in the finals and we're not done yet.
Kawhi is like, I don't know how many more good things I can say about him, right? I mean, he's just so good. And again, I'm seeing a level of competitive greatness out of him. I mean, it's just his willing us to win and him grabbing those rebounds and willing those shots in almost, it seems like, and going down and locking up somebody and taking the ball from them. It's what it is. It's great competitive, it's great competitive desire.
CeCe, did Kawhi will the Raptors to come back in this series and win?
Well, I think typically in sports, a lot of times we have gotten into trying to break someone's will. I believe that Kawhi was on a mission that this organization, because, man, they've had some bumpy rides. And when you look at their disappointments and facing LeBron James and not being able to get over the hump, and Kawhi personally, what he was trying to get through, because Kawhi just wanted to be healthy. He wanted to get his reputation back. Kawhi didn't want his own team or anything or for people to include him in the conversation of best players in the world. He doesn't care anything about that. He wanted to get back to a level of basketball that he knew that he can play at. So I believe that once they got in the moment, the players start to realize what the general manager felt like when he traded for him and what the coach is starting to realize in having the season with him. Man, this guy is special. He's a difference maker, and it empowers people around you. It doesn't matter if Kawhi thinks he's the best in the world. Man, if your point guard, Kyle Lowry, thinks you're the best, if your coach thinks you're the best after being down 2-0 and he decides to put you on Giannis, the MVP of the league, man, that becomes it's empowering for the rest of the team. So how Kawhi approached this whole playoff series really empowered to Toronto that their will couldn't be matched. And that's how you win 4 games in the NBA championship against the team that won 60 games during the regular season, had the MVP. So a lot of things would have to happen, but Toronto has a great deal of faith in Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard has a great deal of faith in himself. And he, like he said, I just want to play hard, and I'll be satisfied with me playing hard. He's a different guy, but willed them to win. I would just say that what they were trying to accomplish, he was the guy to be able to get it done with.
Listen, there were a lot of not extraneous, but secondary or tertiary factors that led to the Raptors winning these 4 straight games. Bucks went cold from 3 over the final 2. Yeah. 10 3-pointers made in Game 5. They made 12 in Game 6, but it's misleading. They were 6 of 9 in the first quarter and then 6 of 28 the rest of the way. The Raptors, who are a good but not great 3-point shooting team, above 40% in both of those games. Fred VanVleet was spectacular.
Yep, they outshot him.
Right, which you didn't expect going into the series. Fred VanVleet, games 4, 5, 6 was extraordinary. While Eric Bledsoe wasn't his series, maybe wasn't his playoffs. It's a tough run for Eric Bledsoe, the guy who they this year locked up. But ultimately, a series this evenly matched between the 2 best teams in basketball record-wise is going to come down to exactly what it came down to. Giannis and Kawhi. Who was better? And Kawhi was better. Giannis wasn't terrible. Giannis didn't choke. Giannis gave you 23, 13, and 6, and actually shot a slightly better percentage than Kawhi.
But after Game 5, Nick, you made a great point last week. They had scored the same number of points.
They'd scored the exact same number of points. The series was as even as it could be. And what happened in Game 6 was a microcosm for the series. The Raptors understood the gravity of a situation down 15, and the Bucks didn't understand the gravity of the situation up 15. And by that I mean, with 2 minutes left in the third quarter, you're up 15, you can end the game. Go up 22. Keep that run going. Push that. The Bucks had a bunch of, in their losses, multiple 13-point, 14-point, 15-point leads. Never got it to that 20. You don't come back from that 20 in the fourth quarter of one of these games. The Raptors understood the gravity of the moment. We got to get this under 10. They got it to 5. And then in the fourth quarter, they could trust Kawhi. They could run their offense through Kawhi.
Yes.
They could trust that Kawhi would be fresh and ready to go. And the Bucks offense totally stagnated if they weren't getting stops because they could not crack the Raptors half-court defense. And a lot of that's on Giannis. I adore Giannis, but a lot of that's on Giannis, and Kawhi was simply sensational.
Did Kawhi establish himself after this series as the best player in the postseason? I mean, a lot of people thought it was Giannis coming in and maybe Giannis going out.
I think we've gone through several of these conversations. It started with KD once he was insulted after being down 2-1 to the Clippers, as far as Kevin, even after 1-1, and them questioning, was he the offensive threat that he was? He said, I'm Kevin Durant. After that, he won a house of fire. Then he gets hurt. Steph picks right up, so the conversation's about Steph. Giannis has just been prodding. They've been dominating in the East, so there's no need. Kawhi entered the conversation after a sensational 7-game series against the Sixers. But right now, if you look at the offense and defensive end, and I'm like the national spokesperson for Kawhi, he just wants to be in the conversation. He don't care who is number 1. He don't care anything about that, but he wants it and he's earned it. He thought when he left basketball that he was one of the best players in the world, if not the best two-way player in the world. So, yes, he should be a part of this conversation. He's deserved it. And the last 3 games playing where he was not 100%. I know a lot of people, they're going to discredit that because this is what they're going to say. Oh, he wasn't hurt, or Giannis is overrated. So we can stop giving Kawhi credit. Let's give the man credit. Let's just imagine this, because this is what I like to do. When James Harden, a lot of times I imagine him in the playoffs, and what would I say if LeBron played that way? And then I developed my commentary of LeBron. KD, I said, what would I do if LeBron did that? I developed Steph Curry. What if LeBron did that? If LeBron James had done what Kawhi did, what would we be saying today? That's what we need to be saying, because he's in the same breath as those other players. A lot of times it makes it a lot simpler. We have a different standard for the best players, and Kawhi is in that as far as a handful of players. If any of the other players, if Steph was in Toronto, if KD was in Toronto, if Harden was in Toronto, what would we be saying today? That's what we should be saying about Kawhi when he shoots over 40%. From 50% from the field, 40% from the three-point line, 80% from the line, and plays defense like that on someone like Giannis?
Well, here's what we said about LeBron. When he went on an 18-game playoff run through the East last year of a similar standard. It's one of the greatest individual playoff runs up to the NBA Finals we've seen, and he's clearly the best player in the world. Kawhi is going to have a bigger curve to get over to be considered the best player in the world because LeBron had a decade plus of dominance leading up to it. But what Kawhi's doing this postseason is damn close to what LeBron did last postseason. He's not scoring as many points, and his supporting cast is better.
A little more help.
And absolutely. But he's also doing more. LeBron was brilliant in last year's postseason run, but he wasn't doing defensively what Kawhi's doing. And he didn't have a challenge of a Giannis to go up against and to really stymie.
Good point there.
And I know we're going to get into Giannis. One of the reasons I'm not going to bang Giannis on the head is he's going up against the best perimeter defender we've had in this league since Scottie Pippen. And I'm really curious to see what Kawhi does in this next round if Durant gets healthy. What Kawhi does in this next round if he's up against Clay, whomever they end up matching him up against, because Kawhi was sensational. To me, there are no nits to pick. When Chris was talking before the playoffs about could Kawhi become the best player in the league, I said the one hole in his game is he's not a great passer. He's never been a great passer. He had never had more than 8 assists in a game. In games 5 and 6, 9 assists, 7 assists. It's to go along with the great defense. And the Bucks, Giannis will be this one day, and his game will develop. They didn't have a closer. The Raptors had a closer in Kawhi Leonard, and that was incredibly valuable.
So now let's look at what happened with Giannis and the Bucks. How much of the loss do you put on Giannis? What does he need to do to become a better player from year 6 to year 7 headed into
Well, the truth of the matter, Jenna, if we're keeping this real, and that's the theme of the show today.
Keeping it all real.
When you start passing out all the awards, all the accolades, you start at the top. You don't start from the back of the roster. And when you start passing out, man, what could they have done? You should start at the top again, because it's only fair. Should I criticize Mirotic as much as he got benched game number 5, didn't play well in the playoffs like I criticized Giannis? No. But I'll start at the top, the coach. I believe the coach needs to keep being creative to come up with more sets. They didn't have anything for playoff basketball for Giannis. If they take away his dribble drive, what do you do? Can I put him on the post, on the low box, where he can have more flexibility? Can I put him on the wing where the help defender can't come off the corner and shooter? Those are things I thought the coach, Giannis, has got to add an intermediate jump shot. We knew that was going to happen, but I'm not going to over-criticize him because he ran into Kawhi. Nick says Kawhi is the best perimeter defender we've had in this league since Scottie Pippen. So I can understand that. I'm not going to overreact. This is a natural process. If he didn't run into Kawhi, he probably goes through the finals, and we don't even have this, and we're not talking about it.
Right. I mean, if the double overtime game 3 goes a little differently, I mean, or there are so many what ifs, so many forks in the road that led us to this moment. Kawhi making that shot in game 7, the double overtime game going the way it did. But this is where we are. So what happened to the Bucks after being up 2-0 and looking like the dominant team in the league, aside from they got hit with the unbeatable Nick Wright curse? Here's what happened to the Bucks. Those 53 wins by double digits of their 70 wins, those are great. But what that also means is you don't have a lot of experience in close games. Only 5 points this year did the Bucks win that were decided by fewer than 5 points.
5 games.
That's the 3rd fewest of any team in the league. It's the Jazz and the Knicks. The Knicks are on that list because they're a bad team, didn't get a lot of wins. That happened to them. Giannis got shook on the free throw line. He was awful from the free throw line in game 3. He was tentative to get contact after that.
Yeah,
so it wasn't just that he was 17 of 36 over the final 4 games. It's that he was more reluctant to take on contact. And finally, here's what happened to Giannis, who I believe one day will carry that championship belt as the best player in the world and carry it for a long time. He had a glaring hole in his game. His inability to take that 12-foot jump shot. No matter how great you are, you're LeBron James, you're a 2-time MVP, you're one of the greatest players ever. You can't post up?
Yep.
Guess what? We'll make you do it in the 2011 finals. Steph Curry, you're a 2-time MVP. Oh, you have trouble defensively? We'll run 100 pick and rolls at you. Giannis's one weakness cost the Bucks the end of their season.
All right, that's it for us.